Webcomicers and readers, creators and fans, the results are in and it is time to announce the winner of the 2024 Screen Tonys. And the winner is... Oh my gosh, you're right, Tabby. How could I forget? But of course, what very official and legitimate bracket competition would be complete without bonus stars? The envelopes, Tabby. The winner of earliest webcomic cameo. A star below. Winner of the most recent fight scene. Catbeard the Pirate. Comic with the most water? Seriously, Tabby? There is no way we went through and tallied that. Well, just because you don't like water doesn't mean you need to warn everyone about waterlogged comics. But I appreciate your effort. I'm sure that was a hard endeavor. Anyway, comic with the least color. Catbeard the Pirate. Comic with a one-word name. Phantomarine. Comic with the most moving parts. A star below. The comic with the most cats. Catbeard the Pirate. Tabby, these are not the bonus stars we talked about. Well, when you put it that way, I suppose these are very valid bonus stars to award. I trust your judgment. We'll just have to accept the results. So I suppose that settles it. Without further ado, the winner of the inaugural 2024 Screen Tonys is... A star below! Congratulations on winning the most absurd, pointless, and ridiculous webcomic competition that you didn't know you wanted to win. Thank you everyone for your participation this year. We will see you again next year.
Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday said tomorrow. So just do it! Make your dreams untrue. No! What are you waiting for? Do it!
Hello and welcome to Screen Tones, where we talk about anything and everything webcomics. Today we're going to be talking about something very near and dear to our hearts, shipping. I am Delphina. I use she, her pronouns, and I make the webcomic Zombulus.
And I'm Verathane. I use she, they pronouns, and I make the webcomics Tiralt and Witchwood.
Okay. All right. So shipping is an amazing way to directly engage with your audience. Like many things, it depends on what you're working with in your comic. It might not be right for you in your situation. Some comics just don't lend themselves to be very shippable. But that's okay. If you don't want to ship or you don't think that it really works for you, that's okay. I'm just putting that disclaimer out now. But when you do have the right combination of factors, it is so satisfying and exciting. I don't know about you, but I could talk about forever about my favorite ships over the years, and I'm super excited to dive into this today. So first question, what have you shipped?
Well, I have shipped a few things in my time. Probably my introduction to shipping was when I decided to print my first webcomic, Geralt. After the Kickstarter had wrapped up, I had all these copies of the book that I needed to send out to folks eager to receive them, and had to figure out the logistics of mailing that many things out to hundreds of folks, some of whom were international. And since getting started on that, I've had many other ships over the years. I also, subsequent volumes of Geralt, as well as some prints and other small things like stickers and so on. The stickers were fun because I could just send those as regular letter mail, which is nice, like a quick, easy, easily digestible, very popular. Yeah,
We love a
so
popular ship.
oh yes.
Yeah. I think my experience kind of follows the same trajectory. I started with my Kickstarter for Zombulus Book 1 was my first, okay, I'm going to get a bunch of things together to ship. I really want to, think of all the things that I've always wanted to make but never had money to make, and just get started with that. I made my book one and my book two, and then had a bit of a break between book two and book three, and started getting into conventions at that point. And so when I started making stickers and buttons and other things, it was just very easy to put them all into an online store, and ship them out when people wanted me to ship them out. Um so that's what I did. And I, just way back in the day, I used to like sell clothing on eBay and stuff. I would get old clothes and like put them up, and so that really got me familiar with the United States Postal Service and all the kinds of things that you might think about, like customs and um, you know all the things that come along with shipping, because it can seem intimidating at first. But once you get into the rhythm of it, once you kind of know what to look for, I think that it gets easier the more you ship. So, with that said, so you've got something that you want to ship out. What steps do you take when you're trying to ship something new, but you don't know how to package it so it's received by your audience the way you want it to be received?
This is something that I've done a lot of troubleshooting on, because I've like, for each thing that I send out, it's going to have different like ways that it'll need to be kind of protected before I send it out into the world to make sure it doesn't get like damaged along the way. Being in Canada, I do have some different experiences with the shipping service. I've
Mhm.
never really been able to like casually buy things online, because if it's coming from an international vendor, there's a pretty good chance it's going to get hit by like customs fees and stuff. So whenever possible, I avoid shopping for things online. I'll try to get things locally whenever I can, because I assume that if I'm buying something that needs shipping, it's going to add at least like 20 or $30 to the cost of it, if not much more than that. Regardless of, if something costs less than $20 to me, I almost definitely won't buy it unless it's just like something that can be shipped with letter mail. Otherwise,
I'm
it's going
glad
to
you're
double.
saying that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad you're saying that because, as an American, that really doesn't occur to us. I think we have some very good shipping. Whatever else is wrong in our country, we do ship things very well. Our postal service is pretty good. And so, like, we don't even think about, like, is there going to be customs fees? Is there going to be crazy international stuff? Like, that doesn't happen for us. So it always surprises me when I hear from a Canadian like, yeah, that thing you sent me, they charged me an extra thing on top of the postage you already paid. I'm like, what, that doesn't happen, no. So
Honestly, it's not even as bad in Canada as it is in some other, like, I think in the EU, it's common practice for every package to have like a customs fee that people will need to pay when they pick it up. Whereas in Canada, it's like a bit variable. Like sometimes it is like probably 90% of the time, for small packages or gifts and stuff like that, it doesn't come up. But if things are over a certain amount or like too big or get noticed, then it might have that extra charge. But for me, when I'm sending things out, when I'm shipping something new, I mean, the first thing that I'll really want to nail down is, before I even list it online or make it available for people to buy, is like, how much is it going to cost me to ship this roughly? So I'll take the item, if I have it, to the post office and like get it weighed, and investigate like what packaging options are out there, so I can figure out how much weight those will add, and the post office can give me an estimate of like how much that's going to cost, and I'll give them a few different postal codes to test. So I'll be like, here's how much will it cost to ship this to another address in the same city, another address across the same country from me, an address in the USA, an address in Europe, and an address in Asia, sometimes also Australia, depending on like where I think people are going to be based. And there can be a pretty big spread in these numbers. Um, but it's just something that I need to know before I do it. And I like going to my local post office for this, because it gives me a pretty good ballpark, even if I can later find that I get lower prices by using like a shipping service. There's a few shipping services that will help connect people to lower prices, especially within Canada. And then the other thing that I want to make sure of is the packaging itself. If it's books, especially soft cover books, I want to make sure that I'm protecting the corners. So I like to make sure they're in some sort of either a cardboard book fold or that they've got like cardboard supports to protect the corners, and then I'll put that into a bubble mailer. That's what I do for the sets of 5 or more Chiralt volumes. For things like prints, I like mailing them flat so they don't get bent, but if I can mail them flat with something else, like a book that's the same size, I like to do that. I'll just kind of put them all in the same package. For things like pins and stuff, I haven't personally been shipping those, but the way that I see to mail those out, if somebody orders a book and a pin or something small like that, like a little object that doesn't lie flat and isn't made out of paper, usually I'll see people put that into a little bubble, like a little bubble pocket, like a bubble wrap tiny thing, just kind of wrap it up and put that inside the cardboard protection with the book and
Yeah, a
ship
little
that together.
burrito.
Yes.
Yeah, I love what you said about the book and prints because I always make sure if I'm doing a Kickstarter or something that my prints are never larger than my book, because then, especially in the context of a Kickstarter, I can ship them all together and that's good.
That is a lesson I wish I'd learned much sooner, because when I was doing the Chiralt campaigns, I sent prints that were almost double the size of my books, and I had to
Oh
get these
no.
huge boxes with the prints at the bottom and then the book stacked on top, and then a bunch of like filler to keep the
Yeah, you
books
have to
from
pad it
sliding
out.
around, and yeah, it was very awkward. I don't recommend it.
No, no. You wanna make sure everything is snug in there. I think that's the thing with ships. You have to make sure there's a lot of snuggling going on. Um, but yeah, I feel like I have a similar situation with the books. I love foldable mailers. I don't really do the bubble mailer thing so much. I feel like it's just kind of a little more finicky, and I've gotten so many bubble mailers with books in them that like have gotten ripped in the past.
So my bubble mailers, I use them in part because okay, so this is a whole thing. When I did the final Kickstarter campaign for Tiralt, and I was going to be mailing 5 books, which is a pretty hefty stack. It's like, I think it's like 3 inches thickness, which maybe more than that actually. Anyway, very heavy, multiple books that can slide around. For books 1, 2, and 3. I had been using these big cardboard book fold mailers in kind of a standard size, but the 5 book set was going to be way too tall for those. So I contacted a local company. I think they were just called like the Box Company or something like that. I can't totally remember. Um, and they could do a custom book fold basically, and I ordered a whole bunch of them. I think I ordered like a ton of these book folds that would fit the larger size of book that I was going to send. But when I received these mailers, when I put the 5 book set inside of it, there was no like give in these things. They were actually just so exactly the same size as the books that when I folded the cardboard around them, the corners would gape open, like in
Oh
the
no.
height section. So I couldn't use those as my actual shipping material. I could use
Oh
them to protect the
no.
books, but I couldn't send those out naked into the world, because like you could just see it. There was like these like big gaps that would open to like a centimeter, and you could see the corners of the books and like touch the pages and stuff. um, but because I had these and they did fit my books and they would protect them from like bangs to the corners and so on, I figured out a strategy where I would stack the books in these, fold the cardboard around it and tape that up nice and tight, and then I would put that inside of the bubble mailer so that it would have that waterproofing that the plastic gives it, but it would also have the cardboard protection. And it definitely added more weight than if I had just done one or the other. But like now that as I receive other books, a lot of people will still also put the books inside bubble wrap inside the cardboard. So I was essentially doing that just the other way around. And it ended up working for me. I feel like I would recommend a combination of the two just because it's nice if you have only cardboard as your mailing method, and then like as the books are in the mail, they get like, the postman walks out and they get
Mhm.
rained on or something. Like having plastic in there helps protect them from water damage, but the cardboard helps protect them from getting banged around. So having both, I think, is a good option. And I do use bubble mailers for that, which is nice because they're cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, I use the, cardboard folders, but I buy a big roll of bubble wrap. It's really cathartic for me to just, like, walk out of the packaging store with this wheel of bubble wrap that is larger than my
I
torso.
do love those bubble wrap wheels. I've gotten those in the past. They're great.
They're so good. And to that point, I definitely want to recommend. I think there's places online if you don't have a shipping store near you. But what's really worked for me in my area is just Googling packaging store near me or going on Yelp and looking for packaging stores and just finding something because I never really thought to look for them before. It's not some place that you casually go in and like shop, and they're usually kind of out of the way in a warehouse district that you're never going to go to otherwise. But like there's just literally stores with every size of box that you could possibly think of, like, just an inch taller, like incrementing in inches up, like, so you can kind of find whatever you want to there, and you can get things in bulk, and they'll usually do more of a bulk discount for you if you're fulfilling a Kickstarter or something like that. So it's a little easier than trying to find things online sometimes for me. And yeah, I walk out of there, I get my foldable mailers, and I get specialty boxes if I have a larger set of things that I'm trying to ship. Usually I'll just take everything I'm going to ship into the store in my tote bag and like just sit there and go from box to box and like, does this fit in this, does this fit in that? And like it's kind of fun just kind of hunting for the right box, because then when I find them, I'm like, okay, I need 10 of these. So that works out for me, and it might work out for you if you live in an area with a reasonably large like urban population. I think it's going to be pretty easy for you to find something like this. um but yeah, I in addition to books, I do pins, and I do the little like burrito of bubble wrap just so that the pokey part isn't poking out of the envelope or the bubble mailer that I'm putting it in. And I do use a little bubble mailer for those. Stickers, like you said, are great because you can just ship them with a normal stamp. And so I try to get some colorful envelopes, and I print off some cards on cardstock just on my home printer, and I stick them all together in that, and I put them in the envelope, and I make, print a little label, and I put a normal stamp on it and just send it all off. It doesn't have the tracking that you might get from a different kind of mailing service, but I find in the case of stickers, like if it gets lost in the mail or something like that, it's gonna be cheaper for me to just like send them another sticker than trying to like reclaim the sticker that was lost. So yeah, that's something that I do with those. I like to use Pirate Ship, which is an online service, pirateship.com. You can make an account there, and you can print off postage online. You can do this on the United States Postal Service website too, but it's a lot more convenient because you can kind of save profiles. So I know, like, okay, if I'm shipping out 3 Somnolus books, I've already weighed them. I already know the size of the package that they're going in. I can input all of that, and it can save it as a template for next time. So I don't have to re enter that stuff every single time. And it is such a godsend. In addition to just having some discounted rates because they have, special deals with these shipping services. So you put your stuff in, you put all your information in. If it's going internationally, they'll let you fill out the customs forms right there. And then it'll give you a list of options like, okay, if you want to send this UPS, it's going to cost this much. If you want to send this, priority mail versus whatever. And it also has a checkbox if you want to send things media mail. Media mail in America is intended for books and CDs and videos and stuff like that. You are supposed to only send it with books. Like you're not supposed to put anything else. If you're putting books and like other tchotchkes, pins, or whatever, like you cannot use media mail. You're not supposed to use media mail. But if it's only books, then you can send via media mail. Other people kind of like eh, squeeze by if they like throw in a print or a bookmark or something that's papery and can kind of like go on the pages of the book. I don't think they open it or anything like that. But it can be very strict, and technically what you're supposed to send is, the media and the media alone. Um, but that's a very discounted rate for Americans that they can use to send to other Americans. And I really recommend that if you're sending books. But there's also just parcel mail for anything that has any kind of three dimensionality. You're going to be looking at, just like a parcel mail situation, and they'll charge you for that. Also, if you go into a post office, if you physically go into a post office, you're going to see a rack of free boxes, priority mail boxes, where like you can just grab them and they don't cost money and they'll send things for a flat rate. This is going to sound really appealing. You're going to want to go there and you're going to see free boxes and you're going to be like, yeah, oh my gosh, they ship so quickly, and they're free, and I can just grab a bunch of these and put my stuff in it. In my experience, the cost of those is never going to make it worth it for you, because they do actually charge quite a bit of money compared to what you would be sending for like a normal parcel situation. So like, I know it's going to be tempting, and you can price it out to see if like that's actually a good deal for you, but it usually is not unless you're sending something very heavy. So we do actually have a lot of options in America that I feel like maybe you don't have in Canada. You have different options, right?
Yeah, we have a few ways of reducing or like simplifying the shipping process. We don't have direct access to media mail through Canada Post, but there are some private companies that will allow Canadians to kind of access some uh, more convenient ways of going about it. And I've used a few of these for my past Kickstarters and other shipping campaigns. So I have used there's a company called Chit Chats Express, which they have locations all over Canada. There's a few close to me in Toronto that I use, but I know they're in other cities as well. They have drop off locations. The way they work is that you give them the information about your package, you tell them everything that's in it, and pay for shipping through them, and they will take your packages that are all appropriately labeled with the correct shipping, and they drive them over the border and they literally use American shipping to send them out, which is kind of how the process works in terms of getting access to it. So they're very strict about like what kind of things are allowed in these packages, and like very meticulous with the paperwork, obviously, because it's like they're essentially getting things like through customs beforehand. And then they will ship things from there, and you can get pretty good discounts like for Canadians doing it this way, because if shipping a book across Canada is going to cost like $15, and then shipping it within the US will cost like, I don't even know what it would be, $3 or $4 or something like that. Um, they have a fee for doing this, which will add to it. It's not going to be as cheap as if you lived in the States and were doing media mail yourself, but it's significantly cheaper than the cost of shipping from Canada into the US. And you can give them a whole bunch of packages and they'll send them all out at once. So it can also be a good way, provided that like you're still packaging them yourself. So if you have the time to pack up like 100 books or whatever, and then drive them to the drop off station and hand them over, then this can be a convenient way to get them all shipped. Because if you do the same thing at your local post office, you might hold up the line for 2 hours while the poor clerks like deal with you. So if you're shipping a large volume of things, it's good to look into a company like that. Recently, I've been hearing a lot about another uh, similar company in Canada called Stallion Express that has been highly recommended to me. I haven't tried it out personally yet, but I've heard good things. So I might look into it for my next campaign.
Yeah, that's awesome that you have something like that because I feel like it's just so punishing trying to ship things internationally, and the numbers can be very scary when you're trying to like look at, oh no, uh, I was not like the book doesn't even cost this much and like it's twice as much to ship over there. So like getting creative, I feel like I've done a lot with the weight of my things. Like when I first printed Somnambulist Book 1, it was on a kind of thicker glossy paper stock, and then when I had to reprint it, I didn't go with the same printer and they used a slightly different paper stock. And what I found out when I weighed the books was that the second printing was just a fraction of an ounce, like a couple ounces lighter than my first printing of it. And so I saved all the first printing books that I had to get rid of to ship domestically because I knew the prices would be better. But if I used the newly printed books in the international shipping, that actually like made a difference of like $10, $10 cheaper if I paid attention to what I was doing.
Oh my gosh, weight, like the tiniest amount of weight can have an unbelievable impact on like shipping prices, especially internationally. I remember for my Trevalt books, it turns out that the cost of shipping that stack of books with the cardboard book fold and the bubble mailer, the weight of that is like it's like 0.2 grams over or something. I believe the threshold is, I can't remember if it's 2 kilograms or something like that. There's a tier, there's different tiers of weight classes that Canada Post will track, and things that are below, I want to say it's 2 or 2.5 kilograms, or maybe it's 1 kilogram or something. Things that are a little over that will cost like $10 extra than something that is just below it. And I didn't fully realize this, that my books were teetering exactly on that line for a while. There was a period where I was selling them through my Kofi, I believe, and I was bringing them to the same post office, like on a weekly basis. I'd go there with like 3 or 4 packages of these books, and there was always the same clerk who was there, who was really cool. And I would always get kind of like the same price. And then one week I went there and it was a different clerk. And suddenly it was like almost double what I thought it was going to be. And it turned out that that first clerk had been just kind of rounding down by like those 0.2 grams, and then this new guy didn't want to round down and was super strict about it, and I was like, uh-oh. So I started for international packages. I started trying to like see what I could do, just like uh, what if I only did like 3 sides of the cardboard and didn't have the parts that sort of fold down over the top, because I think I could still get the same amount of protection in with like a little bit less going on. And it was, yeah, it was a whole little investigation. Like how many micrograms can I shave off of this? Because it can make a difference depending on like on the situation at the post office and like what weight class your package is in, and depending on where you're sending it, it can make an unbelievable difference, because sending that same package to Europe can cost upwards of $80 depending on which country it's going to. One time when I was sending to Europe, I tried just doing it like without the cardboard at all, because with the cardboard it was like $100 to ship, and I was like,
Oh my
this is
god.
unacceptable to anybody. Like that's more than the books. I don't want to do that to them or to myself. Um, so I've been, yeah, so shipping could be, be troublesome.
Yeah, it can be very problematic. And I think, just anytime you're shipping, there's the possibility that you can run into a toxic ship. So let's talk about that. Like, what do you consider a toxic ship? What are the absolute no, you cannot ship this way or do this like for you?
Well, I mean, from my own perspective, shipping things out, I've been increasingly hesitant to like do certain things. I've been so lately my books, the only way to get Chiralt online now is through Hivemail because they have a nice warehouse in the States and they will ship directly out of there when people buy the books. And I don't have to worry about paying $100 to send things to somebody ordering them from overseas. Um, so that's part of it from my perspective. But there's also when I receive things in the mail, like I do try to help this inform the way that I send things because if I ever have a bad experience receiving something that I have purchased, which is being sent to me online, I could just look at that experience and be like, well, I don't want to do that to people who are buying things from me, so I'm going to think about it. I don't like rolling prints in tubes. And part of that is because
Oh.
a long, long, long time ago, I won an art contest online, and the prize was a cool poster print. And I was like, awesome, I'll get that. I gave him my address. I received the print. It came in a tube, and it was printed on this like nice, like matte cardstock paper, but it had been rolled up in the tube, and this paper was not designed to roll. So it wouldn't unroll properly. It wouldn't stay unfolded, and it just had these like creases in it forever afterwards. And it was that
Oh
kind of paper
no.
where the creases cracked a little bit, like so they left these like gross white lines on it. And I was like you just ruined your art by
Oh
shipping it that way. So
no.
I know that depending on the paper type, tubes can totally be like fine. Like if you have that like that plasticky like that stuff that like movie posters are printed on,
Mhm.
like those can probably roll just fine. But for a lot of art prints, like especially a fine art print, if it's on cardstock, that is not meant to roll. It's just it's the wrong kind of paper for it. Don't do that. Like test your stuff beforehand. Like if you roll your art and then unroll it and it's covered in little white creases, maybe don't send it to people that way. It's going to cost a bit extra to get like flat photo mailers and to really protect things with cardboard, but like especially for things that can be like a premium product, definitely be careful with how you mail those things. You want to make sure that it's protected. My other toxic ship is UPS. I hope people stop using them when they're mailing internationally from the US to Canada. I hear that they are cheap and offer good rates on these sorts of things, but from the vantage point of a Canadian ordering things online that are delivered from the US, uh, this company has started doing this thing where every time a package gets sent across the border, regardless of like what is in it or what's going on, they will send it to their customs office and they will personally collect a customs fee for looking at that package, which they will charge to the customer on delivery of the package itself. And these fees can be absolutely absurd. I was once charged an $80 customs fee for a $60 sweater that I had ordered from the States. And
Oh no.
I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna order from this buyer again unless I can be assured that they're not using UPS because that's unacceptable. And I actually challenged that one. I got them to reduce it to like $20. It's like, wow, what a favor. $20 for looking at my sweater and being like, yes, that's a sweater. It's allowed. You're allowed to ship a sweater. But since that moment, every single package that I have received coming from UPS from the States has had an extra bill attached to it from UPS, which, if you don't pay it immediately, they will send it to a collections agency that will call you every couple of weeks to be like, we're calling you about this. And they'll give you like scary legal language about like, you owe UPS like for this much. We're going to
What?
rating. And they're really slimy about it. Like, it feels like a scam and I'm pretty sure it is a scam, but nobody's like challenging them. And I don't know how long they have been doing this or how long they plan on doing this, but I personally plan on avoiding ever ordering anything internationally ever if I have the slightest hint it's going to come through UPS. And I honestly, I just want American sellers to be aware of this practice that they're doing. They will charge your customers incredible amounts of money to receive the things that they're ordering from you. And they don't tell people about this. I feel like it's related to why their shipping rates are so low that they're like, well, we'll make up for this on the sly by charging the recipient an extra $30 that we just take into our own hands. And there's no way to know ahead of time that this is happening unless the customer has a UPS account that is connected to the package that is being sent to them that might give them a flag, and then they can personally go to that UPS customs office to receive the package and fill out the paperwork. That's the only way to avoid this charge is if you go in person to the border and deal with that. Which is also pretty gross because if it arrives at like 2 p.m. on like a Thursday and you have to work, like good luck. So yeah, that's my toxic ship experience. Please avoid.
Yeah, they don't do that in America. Like you can ship things UPS from person to person in America, and like it's it's usually not very cheap. It's usually not cheaper than USPS, but sometimes people get confused because USPS and UPS are only one letter difference. And they might offer you more tracking or whatever, but just don't do it. Don't like it, whatever they save you, like they say they're going to save you to send internationally. To Thane's point, it is not worth it for sure. I think for me also, one of the things that I didn't realize when I started like buying things for shipping things out was that you're going to see a lot of stuff if you Google around for a company called Uline. They are a very, very large, I think the world's largest manufacturer of cardboard boxes and stuff like that. And they have a lot of different sizes and a lot of different options. And if you get on their mailing list, you will receive a giant catalog every couple months with all of their stuff. And it looks pretty cool. One of the things about them also is that they are one of the fifth largest donors to conservative organizations in America. They have very, very strong, like terrible politics sort of things, and I'm not really going to go into it. You can research that. We'll put a couple links in the show notes for this one. But there's a lot of different alternatives if you do find yourself like, I can't go locally to find boxes or whatever. I do need to order online, but what are some good options for me? There's a lot of alternatives to Uline that you should consider if that is a political thing that you don't want to get into and contribute to billionaires who are doing things with the money that maybe you would not approve of.
It's
Um,
pretty crazy because I actually, when I did my first ever Kickstarter campaign in 2014,
mhm.
I didn't know anything about these things, and I did actually purchase my first set of cardboard book mailers from that company, and
Yeah,
then
I
was
did too.
on their mailing list for their crazy catalog that was like it's like 2 inches thick. But they also will send their like insane political leaflets to people. I got one. I'm in Canada. I don't know why they sent this to me. So I was like, wow, okay. Never ordering here again.
No, no. It's just it's way too much. It is like, and if you start looking into them, like the deeper the hole goes, like all the levels they're trying to influence politics with their billions of dollars because like everybody needs shipping supplies and they've kind of got a really good, not monopoly, but their marketing is very good and they're very established. So, just watch out for them, try to avoid them. And like I said, there's going to be show notes on our website that you can go ahead and look for alternatives if you want to order shipping materials online. But I mean, to that end, like, I think it can be very intimidating and very scary shipping things because you don't know exactly what you're doing at first. You're going to be worried that like you're going to hit some of these warning signs like, oh no, I'm going to ship it the wrong way, or I'm going to describe it wrong to customs and they're going to put me in customs jail or whatever. But I actually think it's a lot of fun. I think there's a lot of that like feeling I get from Christmas is like, I'm gonna pick the right box and I'm gonna, wrap it up real nice, and I'm gonna include a business card with all of my stuff and tape it up and put a cute little label on it. I'm gonna ship it off, and I think that's fun.
I am so in awe of those artists who like brand their shipping materials and like take that extra step of like customizing things and making it super cute. Like whenever I receive something in the mail and like it's got like a colorful like envelope inside with like a sticker holding it shut, or like a piece of like custom printed washi tape, like this is the best use for custom printed washi tape in my opinion, is like sending adorable things in the mail, and they're a joy to receive. So I personally don't have tons of these products on hand, and I tend to use pretty basic shipping supplies myself. But like, if you feel like taking the extra step, like I guarantee the people who are receiving it are going to be delighted once that arrives on their doorstep.
Yeah, I will warn against like if you put stickers or things that aren't 100% like stuck on an envelope specifically, they do run them through these machines where it might like peel or scuff them. So like don't like on the outside of the envelope, don't go too crazy would be my advice. But on
Oh
the
yeah,
inside, yeah, for
yes.
sure. Do like, the little sleeve that holds the sticker if you want to do like a little just a nice little washi tape strip. I save all of them. I'm like a little scavenger, and I see a cute piece of washi tape. I'm like, I'm saving this, and
I'll
like
put it in my sketchbook.
I know,
Pride
yeah.
place.
People do some really cute stuff with it.
Some people's ships are just adorable.
They are. They're so precious, cinnamon roll ships. But yeah, I think that it's such a fun thing. I think you could have a lot of fun with it, or you can just start basic depending on how you're feeling, and once you get comfortable with the process, and you're getting orders from your Kickstarter or your online store or whatever you're shipping, it can be a lot of fun and very rewarding. So thanks for sticking with us and sharing the shipping love with us. I have been Delphina, and you can find my webcomic Sombulus at sombulus.com.
And I have been Barathane, and you can find my webcomics at chiralt.sevensmith.net and witchwoodcomic.com.
Oh, I'm gonna go think about my ships now.
Just daydreaming about my glorious ships.
Thank you for listening to Screen Tones, a webcomic podcast. Want to know some other ways to support us? Check out our Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/screentonescast, where your support will help us create more episodes, reach cool extra bonus goals, and keep us talking about anything and everything webcomics. You can also find us on Tumblr, Instagram, and our Discord server. Thank you so much for listening, sharing, rating, and supporting, and we'll see you next time.